friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Athena, Regional Educator with L'Oreal Professionnel. Today I want to talk to you a little bit more about color corrections. Seems to be all the rage right now with all the COVID stuff going on. But what I really want to go into depth is where do you start? When was the last time someone walked in and you had a mini meltdown about where to even begin? I've been doing hair for over 20 years behind the chair, and occasionally someone will still pop in, sit in my chair that I am just overwhelmed with. So I've compiled a list of 6 questions to make my job easier, get my brain back on track, and really take a hold of my appointment and plan my attack accordingly. So step 1, or question 1, is what is the desired end result? Obviously, we always want to ask this, but this is usually my first question. Tell me what you wanted it to look like, and we'll go from there. Knowing their desired result will help you plan your attack very efficiently, knowing the goal that you're going towards. I always prefer a picture, and considering phones are literally attached to us, it should be very easy to find one if they don't have one, to do a simple Google image search of what they're describing and find something that you can compromise on. Question number 2, are we formulating for white coverage? I want to know immediately if we're formulating for white coverage, because just because you know the percentage level of white doesn't always mean that you want to cover it up. I have plenty of clients that I don't cover their whites because they don't like to visit the salon every 4 weeks on a very regimented schedule. They would prefer to come in every 6 or 7 weeks, have their whites more blended. So knowing if you're covering or what type of coverage you want on the white, not just the percentage, is something you definitely want to review with your client. Question 3, what is their natural level? I want to know what their natural level is beyond the white, because the formulation that I'm going to do on their new growth is always going to be different when we're doing a color correction than anything else I'm doing on the hair strands. So knowing the natural level is always really helpful. Question number 4. What is the current level of the corrective portion? Sometimes there's multiple bands in the hair. Sometimes there's really just a really grown out root and then bands in the hair. The things that we want to keep in mind are how many levels do we need? Sometimes on very ashy or very warm hair, it's a little hard to tell. So what you want to do is grab your handy dandy level finder with underlying pigments out of your Majorelle book and hold it up to the hair. Then you're going to take a photo in black and white. Insert photo here. Once that's done, you can see it's a lot easier to match the level to the tone on hair that maybe is a little hard to tell without. Knowing what each level is in each section will help us again to plan our attack when we're talking about which products to use. In those portions, then we'll ask question number 5. Now that we know all these levels, how many levels of lift or deposit do we really need? Sometimes you may only need 2 levels of lift. If I only need 2 levels of lift, it doesn't really make sense to use Blonde Studio 9 on those portions. If I only need maybe 2 levels of deposit, then I know I may not need to fill that hair depending on her porosity for that color to stay, and can just go in with a Dia Light and glaze over it. So knowing your levels will again help you in your plan of attack by using the appropriate products to not stress out the hair. This is usually where a lot of people start, is in question 6, where I like to use it as the very last result. Our canvas needs to be prepped and evened before we can even think about neutralizing any tones. Sometimes that may mean I need to fill or deposit first before adding on my end result. Or vice versa. I might need to lift out a bunch of things before, again, I worry about neutralization. If you start with an even canvas, you'll have a better even end result. So tones are usually the last thing, again, that I think about. So I hope that you found these questions to be very helpful when you have a client that comes in and you feel a little overwhelmed. So with that being said, happy correcting.